U.S. Court of International Trade incredibly ruled against the United States of America. Why, oh why, did they give us such a terrible ruling? But then realized that they were under the thumb of a real sleazebag named Leonard Leo. Come on, wake up. It is happening. We're not activists, we're lawyers. Trump obliterates the Federalist Society, who has given us some pretty good judges, but given us some pretty crap judges as well. And we have questions about them in the Trump era. Okay, they were very instrumental back during the Bush era and the old Republican Party, but have they been working with Trump and MAGA, or are they just the old guard Republican class? Now, Trump posted this going after this dude called Leonard Leo. Leonard Leo is this fella over here who's done a bunch of work in the Republican Party, gotten us some people like John Roberts, Alito, Gorsuch, Brett Kavanaugh, and Amy Coney Barrett, right? Some of those we're very happy with. Like, we like Gorsuch, we like Alito. Those were pretty solid. Clarence Thomas, pretty nice. Was he pushing these people forward, or was he assisting once they were put forward? Who knows? Others, Amy Coney Barrett and John Roberts, we've got some questions about because they kind of told us they believed in originalism and textualism and interpretation of the law. And then they came up here, and then Amy Coney Barrett all of a sudden is like, 14 hours. Why didn't you do this for these gangbangers? You know, what the heck's going on? All right, so Trump posted this about this dude. He says, the U.S. Court of International Trade incredibly ruled against the United States of America. We read through that yesterday. They got stayed, basically reversed for the time being, on desperately needed tariffs. But fortunately, the full 11-judge panel of the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Federal Circuit has just stayed the order by Manhattan-based Court of International Trade. Now, where do these initial 3 judges come from? We asked the same question on this, because we went over to watcherlodge.com in our research section that we have over there, and we assembled this entire dossier on the Court of International Trade. And in here, your boy was doing some digging on these judges, and you see these are the 3 judges who were behind this: Reif, Rastani, and Katzman. And so did a little bit of a background on this. And so Rastani is the most senior judge. She's the woman in the middle there. And she is a Reagan appointee, right? So she was the chief judge for a while, was a Reagan appointee. You're going, wait a minute, this guy's conservative red. All right. What about this guy, Reif? Guess who appointed him? Trump in 2019. Went to NYU. There's our first mistake there. NYU School of Law vetting room. He worked in private business, was general counsel for the trade representative, and then lectured at Columbia, right? Another big problem there. So all those schools are just crap schools. Now, Katzman, in terms of politics, right? So like you're NYU, you're like NYU alum, you're like Columbia Law, you're like Harvard Law, right? They all think the same way. They think they're unique and intelligent and like, individual geniuses, but they're not. They're just essentially part of the bureaucratic blob. They all sound, look, and basically act the same. So here, point is, red. We got 2 red judges on this. What the heck? And then we got Gary Katzman, who went to Yale, and he was appointed by Barack Obama, right? They all come from the same places, either Yale or Harvard or Georgetown or one of them. But they're there, and we ask ourselves, right, why, oh why, did they give us such a terrible ruling? We read through the ruling. They didn't even analyze the 4 preliminary injunction factors in their entire claim. And it seems like they overlooked the entire operation of the law, whereby Congress, if they don't think that the president actually invoked an emergency validly, then Congress can just go ahead and reverse the emergency via a joint resolution. Doesn't even have to be 2/3 or anything crazy. Just file a resolution and just get it done. Just cancel the emergency. But the judge said, no, I'm going to cancel the emergency because I'm Congress and I'm the president, these 3 judges. So Trump was posting about this saying, what the heck? Who are these people? Where did they come from? Says, where did they come from? How is it possible for them to have potentially done such damage to the United States of America? Is it purely hatred of Trump? What other reason could it be? Says, I was new to Washington, and it was suggested that I use the Federalist Society as a recommending source on judges. And so I did so, openly and freely, but then realized that they were under the thumb of a real sleazebag named Leonard Leo, a bad person who in his own way probably hates America and obviously has his own separate ambitions. He openly brags how he controls judges and even justices of the United States Supreme Court. I hope that is not so, and don't believe it is. In any event, Leo left the Federalist Society to do his own thing, and I am so disappointed in the Federalist Society because of the bad advice they gave me on numerous judicial nominations. This is something that cannot be forgotten. With all that being said, I am very proud of many of our picks, but very disappointed in others. They must always do what's right for the country. In this case, it is only because of my successful use of tariffs that many trillions of dollars have already begun pouring into the USA from other countries, money that without these tariffs would not be able to get. It is the difference between having a rich, prosperous, and successful United States of America and quite the opposite. The ruling by the U.S. Court of International Trade is so wrong and so political. Hopefully, the Supreme Court will reverse this horrible, country-threatening decision quickly and decisively. Backroom hustlers must not be allowed to destroy our nation. The horrific decision stated that I would have to get approval of Congress for these tariffs. He already did. Congress can cancel the declaration of emergency by operation of law if they want to. And now this judge can't just say, well, they gave you some permission, but not the other permission, when Trump's interpretation of the permission is perfectly legally valid. The judges just didn't like it. They liked some tariffs are okay, but not these tariffs because they came from Trump. They say if allowed to stand, this would completely destroy the tariffs, our country. In other words, hundreds of politicians, if we had to go get approval from Congress, would sit around in D.C. for weeks and even months trying to come to a conclusion as to what to charge other countries that are treating us unfairly, which is why Congress delegated it in the first place. They're like, we can't do this work. We can't, we need to act quickly. The president, that will send it to him, saying, this decision is being hailed all over the world by every country other than the United States of America. The world loves it because it hurts us. Radical left judges, together with some very bad people, are destroying America, no doubt. Under this decision, trillions of dollars would be lost by our country, money that will make America great again. It would be the harshest financial ruling ever leveled against us as a sovereign nation by our own courts. The President of the United States must be allowed to protect America against those that are doing it economic and financial harm. Thank you for your attention to this matter. And the president is empowered, as we read in Trump's reply when he filed it to the Court of Appeals there in the Federal Circuit and walked us through how the court didn't even do their analysis on an injunction, issued a global ban on Trump's tariffs in spite of the fact that the law gave him the power clearly, explicitly, and also provided a mechanism by which Congress can cancel it if they want to, which they didn't. So Trump goes after Leonard Leo. Some background here. They say here, Leo, in a brief response, did not criticize the president. He says, I'm very grateful for Trump transforming the federal courts. It was a privilege being involved. There's more work to be done for sure, but the federal judiciary is better than it's ever been in modern history, and that will be President Trump's most important legacy. And, I think there is some truth to that. Like, things could be much worse. We're not happy with all of our judges, don't get me wrong. I think there's a slow motion judicial coup happening right now, and it's being orchestrated by one side of the aisle and their judges. And don't say that's crazy, okay? Because they orchestrated it on January 6th using the FBI. They used the FBI to orchestrate Crossfire Hurricane. Then they lied to all of us about Biden's mental acuity, lied to all of us about the border, what they could do, lied to all of us about COVID and the pandemic. So it's like all of that can touch other arenas, but the judiciary is immune from that same type of political garbage. Come on, wake up. It is happening right now, which is why we're so upset about it. Now, Leo, he does have a point that it could be much worse. Like, for example, what if we had Merrick Garland on the Supreme Court, right? We had a lot of criticisms about Mitch McConnell and him not really being a Republican, but we didn't get Merrick Garland. That was good. And we were able to get some other good judges on there since Trump won. We got Gorsuch on there, and Kavanaugh's pretty solid so far. So it's true that things could be much worse. Like, imagine if we didn't have Gorsuch, but we had another Tanya Chutkan on there. Oh, I'm going to have to take a minute to just think about that. Trump's relationship with the activist is known to have grown strained over the years because of some of these terrible judges. Despite the falling out between Trump and Leo, many conservatives say he's still going to be influential. And the guy does have a long history. I mean, he's done a lot of work in this space. And I think some of it is good, right? I mean, if he helped us get Gorsuch on there, well, that's pretty good. So we'll give him credit on that, no doubt about it. But the point is, Trump is getting shafted by the judges. I don't know that it's exactly Leo's fault on some of them, maybe on some of these trade judges, but I think there's probably just more pressure on these judges than you can account for. You might put one of the most solid people in there, but when you have the Chinese coming in here, or let me just say, in the trade court, the whole world is putting pressure on them other than the American people who are mostly asleep at the wheel on most of these issues, right? The rest of the world's going, oh crap, tariffs, that's not good. And the trade court doesn't really care about American interests. They'd rather satiate the world, which has been the pattern our entire lives. Now, it's not just stopping with the Federalist Society. Bondi also taken out the ABA, which has been a Democrat legal liberal institution for decades. And this has been a monolith in the legal space. The lawyers are by and large liberal. The law schools are liberal. The big law firms are liberal. The institutions are liberal. All of the different organizations like National Association of Lawyers dedicated to whatever, all liberal, getting tons of money come in. And you see it, man, they weaponize the law over the last 4 years and beyond that. They try to weaponize the FBI, rigged the elections, sued lawyers who were filing to fight that, indicted other people who were just participating in the process. And so enough. Okay, you're cut off. If you want to be a political organization, go do that. But you don't have a right to interface with the government. Get out. Pam Bondi came out and dropped this. Said the American Bar Association has lost its way, and we do not believe it serves as a fair arbiter of judicial nominees. The Justice Department is no longer giving the ABA the access that they have taken for granted. They write, hey, ABA, dear President Bay, William. For several decades, says Pam, the American Bar Association has received special treatment and enjoyed special access to judicial nominees. In some administrations, the ABA received notice of nominees before a nomination was even announced to the public. Okay, so this little hack organization would just veto people before they even made it to the public light. In some administrations, we did that. Now, some administrations would even decide whether to nominate an individual based on the ABA's ratings. The American Bar Association, just like the Center for Disease Control, they all are just innocent institutions that are just doing their work to take care of you. Okay. Unfortunately, the ABA no longer functions as a fair arbiter of nominees' qualifications, and its ratings invariably and demonstrably favor nominees put forth by Democratic administrations. Not for long. The ABA's steadfast refusal to fix the bias in its ratings process, despite the criticisms from Congress, the administration, and the Academy, is disquieting. Yeah. And so accordingly, Pam Bondi says, while the ABA is free to comment on judicial nominations along with other activist organizations, go do it, go wild. There is no justification for treating the ABA differently from such other activist organizations, and the DOJ will not do so. Wow, they hate that word, active. We're not activists, we're lawyers. Okay, specifically, the Office of Legal Policy will no longer direct nominees to provide waivers, allowing the ABA to access non-public information, including bar records. Nominees will also, not respond to your questionnaires prepared by the ABA, and we're not going to sit with interviews with you people either. Sincerely, your friend, Pam Bondi. Get bent. Love it. So that's great. And I think that there is a proverbial hatchet that should be taken to all of these institutions. All the government money to the ACLU, any grants, any funding to any organization that is even remotely connected to the law should be reviewed and probably canceled, because it is just the same thing. USAID money was going to stand up the entire Democratic apparatus. Same thing's happening with these legal institutions. So the DOJ, the White House, they should all decouple with all of these entities, and they can fend for themselves, see if they survive without sucking on the government teat.